Welcome everyone, in this video I'm gonna be breaking down my tier list for 3v3 and solo from playtest 4, going into playtest 5 and early access. I'll be explaining why each class is what it is on the list, and I'll go over their strengths and weaknesses in the current meta. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Steelheart, a Dark and Darker certified addict, and I've been playing competitively in all kinds of games for a decade now. I've been playing Dark and Darker since playtest 1, and let me tell you, I haven't been this addicted and this hyped for the game in years. I would appreciate if you get this video a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Now, let's jump right into it. Barbarian. For me, the Barbarian is an A tier class for 3v3 and a C tier class for solos. The Barbarian is a weird class to rank. It is currently part of the meta thanks to the sweet throwing axes,
네. 뭐야? 쳤어.
as well as those sweet buffs from wizards and clerics. But let's be real here. When it comes to solo play, this class is as slow as a snail on a Sunday. The lack of movement is its biggest flaw, and can make it tough to engage with long range classes or disengage when things get too hot to handle. But fear not, because if you have a wizard or a cleric on your team, then oh boy, you're in for a treat. The buffs from the cleric and the wizard will completely negate all of the barbarian's flaws, and turn it into a train of destruction and suffering for its enemies. With haste and invisibility from the wizard and protection from the cleric, you'll be able to take on anything that comes your way. And let's not forget about the Divine Strike and Ignite combo. With that, the barbarian will be able to wipe out entire teams with just 3 swings of your axe, literally one-shotting any class in the game. Now though, don't get too cocky, because without a wizard on your team, the barbarian drops down to an A tier. Without either a wizard or a cleric, well, let's just say you are in for a rough ride. Overall, barbarian goes into A tier for 3v3 due to its weaknesses and having the need for a wizard or a cleric in your team. Otherwise, it's really hard for the barbarian to shine since it's very support dependent. For solo, I rate it C tier since it has an easy time clearing PvE, has a high health pool with decent armor ratings, allowing it to tank a lot in 1v1s, while having the ability to one-shot people with good gear. Its downfall, once again, being the lack of movement speed, which makes it hard to catch up to people or disengage, which is arguably the most important aspect for a solo class. Cleric. For me, the Cleric is a clear S tier for 3v3 and D tier for solos. This bad boy received a buff in playtest 4 and even got an AoE heal, making it an absolute powerhouse. Clerics have so much going on for them, it's just crazy, man. Let's start by talking about the Cleric's fast cast times, for example. The Clerics can sling spells like there's no tomorrow, and with little to no cooldowns, it's like watching a magic show. And don't even get us started on those buffs. They are super strong, giving you protection, which will turn you tankier than an actual tank, and they'll heal you super fast. Now, if you are playing in a 3v3 match, you better believe that the Cleric is a must-have on your team. It is currently part of the meta classes, and for a good reason. It's simply too good to pass out on. But, for all the solo players out there, beware. The Cleric lacks range and is slower than a snail on tranquilizers. It suffers from the same issues as the Barbarian does. Unable to take out targets from a distance and having no escape plan. Unlike the Barbarian though, the Cleric doesn't have a self-buff skill for movement speed. And let's not forget that it also deals less damage. Its only saving grace for solo being the fact that you can self-heal and self-buff. So, overall, we are giving the Cleric a solid D tier for soloing. But if you are playing in a team, there's really no reason not to want one in your team, making it into the S tier. Fighter. For me, the Fighter is a clear B tier for both 3v3 and solos. Let's be real here. The Fighter is a bit of an oddball. It's like that friend that can do everything, but is not really great at anything. You know, the jack of all trades, master of none. Compared to the Barbarian, the Fighter deals less damage, which makes it a less efficient vessel for buffs from clerics and wizards. I mean, you'll need to hit enemies 2 to 3 times before they go down, while the Barbarian can one-shot almost everyone. It's like the Barbarian is Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, and the Fighter is, well, let's just say it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Since the Fighter can't always finish everything in one hit, it means that buffs are likely to expire before the Fighter finishes the job. Overall, the fighter is still a good choice since it's basically a slightly tankier Barbarian, but with less damage. It is like the Barbarian is a Lamborghini and the fighter is a Mustang. Both are great, but one is clearly superior. The fighter can equip a longbow, which isn't very relevant in the current meta, but if you are running an off-meta composition with 2 ranged classes and a fighter, you can complement the team by dealing damage from range. The fighter also has access to melee weapons with longer reach than the Barbarian, which allows it to be more efficient in certain situations. Plus, it can equip shields like the PvEs, which is great for blocking choke points. But let's be real, the fighter is not as good as the Barbarian in the current meta. If your team rushes in and you have a wizard on your team, even without a cleric, the Barbarian is likely a better choice. Now let's talk about solo play. The fighter suffers from the same issue as the Barbarian and the cleric, lack of base movement speed. But the fighter has a movement skill that massively increases the movement speed temporarily, which makes it much better than the other two for disengaging or chasing enemies, somewhat reducing its weakness to when the skill is on cooldown. The fighter also has a self-healing skill, which is great for survival, which the Barbarian does not have. Overall, the fighter earns a B tier for solo and a B tier for 3v3. It is like when you get a B on a test, not the best, but still pretty good I guess. Ranger. The Ranger is a ranged class that can dish out high burst damage and set traps, making it a valuable asset to any team composition. Plus, it is the second fastest class in the game, so it can pick its fights wisely and get out of sticky situations when needed. This class is so self-reliant that it doesn't need buffs or support from anyone. It is the ultimate solo player's wet dream. But beware, if you're a bad Ranger, you might as well be dead weight to your team. One downside to the Ranger is that it has arguably the lowest DPS in the game if its skills are down, due to the need to reload and aim. That means that hitting those arrows takes some serious precision and accuracy. If you miss them, you'll be dead weight, but if you're a good Ranger, you'll be a great addition to any team. In 3v3s, the Ranger is a strong choice, but it is not part of the meta composition, meaning it won't necessarily provide anything other than damage and traps. Those traps can be a double-edged sword, so watch out. For solo play, the Ranger is one of the best choices out there, as it is relatively safe attacking from range and can solo clear all PvE content in the game. It can even set up traps ahead of time and lure enemies into them for easy kills. Just don't expect the Ranger to be able to take on a whole team on its own. If you miss those shots, you're in trouble. Plus, if the enemy does not fall into your traps, you might have to run away. To sum it up, the Ranger earns an A in both 3v3 and solo. It is not quite the meta-dominating powerhouse, but it is a reliable class that can always shine in any composition. Rogue. If you are looking for a class that requires skill and patience, the Rogue might just be your cup of tea. They've dominated leaderboards with their fast time to kill and insane 1v3 capabilities since playtest 1. But let's be real here. If you catch your enemies off guard, any class can shine, any class can kill them. But that's where the Rogues stand out from other classes. The ability to catch enemies off guard much more often. The downside is that when it comes to 3v3s, the Rogue can struggle a bit. It is hard to catch enemies off guard when they are expecting it. And let's not forget that the Rogues lack range and don't bring much utility to the team. But hey, don't get too down on the Rogue just yet. In solo play, they are a force to be reckoned with. They are like a ninja in the shadows waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And let's not forget, they are also the fastest class in the game. Overall, the Rogue is like the one friend who's really good at something, but only in specific situations. They might not be the most reliable team player, but well, they'll definitely impress you when they are doing their own thing. So the Rogue is a C tier in 3v3 and an S tier in solo play. Personally, also being an S tier in the fun department. Wizard. Let me tell you straight away, calling the Wizard overpowered is an understatement. Since the beginning of the game, the Wizard has been a force to be reckoned with. They are the reason why Barbarians get to shine and show off their brute strength, and why the current meta even exists. If you are facing Wizard, it's like trying to win an argument against a Karen, you're just gonna lose. Not only can they attack from a range, but they can also deal AoE and splash damage. It is like playing dodgeball with a grenade launcher, pretty much. Plus, they can 2 or 3 shot people from afar. In a game with narrow hallways, choke points and small rooms, the Wizard is just a game changer. The Wizard is also super mobile. They have spells like haste and invisibility that allow them to temporarily become the Flash of the game, being the fastest class in the game while they are active. So if they want to chase an enemy or get out of a sticky situation, they can, no problem. But wait, there's more. The Wizard can also provide buffs like haste and invisibility to their teammates. They are not just a massive damage dealer, but also a high utility provider. Unlike the fighter, who's a jack of all trades but a master of none, the Wizard is a jack of all trades and a master of all. The only downside is the way you select spells. It is like trying to pick a major in college, overwhelming and confusing. Plus, you have to meditate to replenish your spells, which can be a turn-off for some people. But for those that do play them and are good at them, they dominate everything and everyone. It is like watching a pro player smurfing on a low rank account. Overall, the wizard is an S tier for 3v3 and I'll rate them at an A tier with ranges. Mostly because they get countered by sneaky rogues in solo, as well as by ranges who arguably have an edge when facing wizards in 1v1. This is the final 3v3 tier list for high roller PvP. I would like to mention that even though I have placed fighter at B tier, that is mostly due to the meta favoring the Barbarian over the fighter, and Ranger being overall a better addition to most teams. Of meta compositions though, the fighter could potentially be better than the Barbarian due to its versatility. Overall, fighter is a B tier in my opinion, but very close to an A tier. This is the final solo tier list. I would also like to mention that this is a tier list for high roller PvP, so high mobility classes are favored, as they have an easier time running away from teams and deciding when they should be engaging or not. As such, the 3 most mobile classes have the edge here, such as the Rogue, the Ranger and the Wizard. That's it for this video. Let me know if you liked the video, drop a like, subscribe, it helps a lot the channel and helps a lot the video. Let me know in the comments if you like the tier list and if you would make any changes.